Okay, so I've downloaded my file and I've opened it in, and I put it in my CG1 folder. Then I opened it with the Virtual Labs version of Photoshop. And you'll see that over here in the layers, I have a deer. So I have a deer photo on one layer, and I have a snow layer on one. Okay, so there's a snow photo and a deer photo. So what we want to do is we want to make this deer look like it realistically belongs in the image. So what I like to do is use the lasso tool, and the feather is 0. And I like to just kind of go around and take away some of the excess that I don't really need right away. So I'm going to just do it in little chunks. And I don't, oops, wrong layer. Make sure you're on the right layer. I'm on the deer layer. Delete. Okay. Then I'm going to take away this. And now this isn't just a completely simple merge because the snow doesn't match. So one of the snows is darker and one of them is brighter. And it's also, the snow on the deer is a lot redder looking. Okay, so I'm just going to take away some of this excess. Okay, now this deer looks like a gigantic deer. And if I move it over, you can see that there's some tire tracks on the road actually. And so if this is a car or like, I don't know, a snowmobile, then the deer is probably going to be about as wide as that, maybe even smaller. So depending on where it is, if the deer is on the road, this is about the right size. So you need to resize it also using the move tool, making sure that you show transform controls. Um, and then you want to keep it lined up across from where those are. So if I want it to be closer, then I would make it a little bit bigger and it would be like along the front. But I want to be able to see the feet, so don't make it too close to the front. But before I go and do that, I'm going to start taking off some of the background. So it's too pink. So I'm going to go and change it just a teeny bit. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. So you can see that the edges around here are slightly pink, and this is more blue grayish. There are two different color photographs. So I'm going to go to image adjustments, and most of these adjusting things like brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, color balance, things like that are in here. So I'm going to choose the color balance, and I'm going to just use the midtones, and I'm going to pull some of the red out of it by sliding it towards the cyan. And I'm just going to get it so it's not so red. So I dropped it down to about -14 on the cyan, just to take some of the red off. And then it's a little bit brighter, but not down here, but only up here. So you can change the brightness contrast by image adjustments, brightness contrast, and you can make the deer a little darker. But look at how it's different. So when I make it so it works on the front foot, it's too dark on the back foot. Okay, so there's a thing that you can do to make that work is you can slightly color an area using this is the dodge tool, and it lightens areas. And if you press and hold, it looks like a magnifying glass, but it's really like a little paddle. It's supposed to be like a paddle. These are old school ways that you did it on when you were in the dark room. So a burn tool, what that does is it darkens things. So the burn tool darkens, like think like charcoal is burning something, and the dodge tool is like adding some light. So if this is too light, then I want to darken it. So I can use that burn tool. And as long as I'm on the deer layer, then right here it says exposure. I can darken it up. Now, if it's too dark, like if I do this, right, that might be a little too dark. So I'm going to undo it. You can change the exposure down to like 14, 15 and just do it a little bit. So I'm just going to do it just a little here, and I'm going to click and let go, click and let go, click and let go until I get it to kind of match the snow in the darkness. And the rest of it, I'm just going to take off. But the bottom of the foot is where I'm going to use my feather. So this needs to be a little darker too, right here. See right here along this edge, if I just click and drag along it, click and drag, let go, click, drag, let go, click, drag, let go, click, drag, let go. I've almost got it to match that snow. See right here, see how it's so much lighter than this part? If I click and drag across, click and drag across, click and drag across, click and drag across, click and drag across until I get it to almost match. So you can do that to make it match, but it's not worth it to do it on all of this because we're going to cut it off. But around the feet, it is. So this is closer to it, so I wouldn't worry about it. So you're going to use that lasso tool just like you did with the cardinal, but you're just going to make the feather 5 pixels because you just want it to be just a teeny little bit of a blur. So I'm going to take off the bottom edges around the feet, and I'm going to go outside the edges like this, and I'm just going to delete. Okay, so it starts to kind of blend in. I'm going to do that kind of along here, but this part's a little bit light, so you might have to use the dodge tool or the burn tool, and I'm just going to take off these edges and let them blend into the snow. Okay, it's a little bit light, so I can use that tool. I'm going to use the burn tool, and I'm going to go in. I'm just going to just lighten it, or darken it, darken it, darken it. And look at that, it blends right into it. And then the rest of this, I'm going to cut off with my lasso tool, but I'm going to use a feather of 0. So when you want to get a hard edge, you go and you want to zoom in. Okay, and because I cut off all that extra stuff, I still have this little bit here. I can go in and I'm just going to go around here, and I'm going to go just like a pixel in, a couple pixels in, right along that edge, just past where it's all white. And I'm going to take that and delete. All right, now see, you can see here where I had done the blend. So I can see that I need to still darken it a little. And you can change this to different brushes. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to change the brush style to, if you click on general brushes, you can get like a hard round or a soft round. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to just go across this until it blends in. Like I'm trying, that's darkening the foot too much. This part's okay. I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to get this part because it's too light. Okay. And then for the whole rest of it, so around the feet, you're going to use the blend, but all around the whole rest of it, you're just going to go all the way around the deer. And you're going to do it just a little chunk at a time. Now take your time because it's kind of hard at first, but if you just do a little bit at a time, you're going to get a much smoother thing. You don't want to be going in and out and taking out big old chunks of the deer, right? You want to go in and go just inside the edge of the pixels and go just where the brown of the deer is showing. So you don't have any of that white. Okay, so look at where I cut off right here. So wherever I put the deer, if it's in the snow or in the woods, that part is going to you're going to see the background of the other photo. Okay, so basically that's what you're going to do. You're going to just go around and you're going to use the lasso tool with a feather of 0 before you even surround it. And you're going to go right along the edges, just inside, a little bit at a time. Now, I made a mistake here and I got a little funky thing here. I can take that away. If I press the Option key, I get a little minus and I can take this part away that I surrounded. If I want to add something, I press Shift and I get a little plus sign on my lasso, and I can go in and I can kind of continue around if I want. And I can take off this chunk too. And then I just hit the Delete key. Deselect, Control D. Now there's a little bit of a white edge, so I might want to take a little teeny bit more off. I want to make sure that I'm getting in the brown and I'm not getting any of that white, because then it's going to show up and it's going to look like a glow. So just do a teeny bit at a time. And that way you'll get a smoother edge. Okay, so you're gonna wanna use the lasso with a 0 feather around most of the body. And then like around maybe even the belly, you could probably use a feather, or like, because it's got like the fuzzy hair, right? So see how it's got kind of fuzzy hair on its belly? If you use the feather, then you can go in and take away and just go like a little bit on the outside, kind of like that. And then it kind of blends in and it doesn't wreck the feathery, furry part. And then you can go back and change it back to 0 and then go along and get like all this stuff. Okay. When you're done, size it right. So use the move tool to size it so it looks like it belongs. And then you can put it like anywhere around here, back here a little bit, but you want to make sure that it's about the width of the tracks. And snow there, and then put it kind of directly across from there. Okay, so now I know that I still need to get all this stuff taken off, right? His head kind of blends into the woods just like a deer does because it's brownish gray, so it's merging in. I still have all this to clean off. I can still see all that junk. So you want to clean it off. So I got it clean here. I got it clean around the ear. And the secret to doing this really well is zooming in. So clean off the excess and just leave a chunk like that. And make sure that you're just zooming in really close so you can get just inside so you're not getting, you're not leaving all that white glowy stuff around the edge, right? And just take a little bit at a time. That's probably more than you should do, but I'm used to doing it. Oops, and guess what? Make sure that you're on the deer layer before you delete anything. Okay. Right? So that's basically it. So remember, there is, if you want to skip to the front to see where everything is, I'll show you really quick. If you want to scroll to the end, lasso tool, feather, 0 or 5 pixels, dodge tool makes it lighter, burn tool makes it darker. You can select on this tool. Remember the options for the tools are up here. It changed, right? You don't see the feather here anymore because it doesn't have that. You can change the brush size. And when you do, use a soft round brush so it gives a fuzzy edge, just like when you feather with your paint. Okay, so then you can darken and lighten anything if you want to darken something around the feet or anywhere, but be real careful with that and don't overuse it. Just a little, it's just really good for little touch-ups. All right.